I don't know why it always does that. When I reload it, it switches the camera. I don't even know why I have to reload it, but let me get my tunes right. I can't even play our normal show tunes because the last time I put up they flagged me or something for saying that the instrumental. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But we'll just instrumental in the back as we get through this intro. As we get through this intro, we got a lot to talk about today. Let me tap into this chat. Ooh, Unc in the building. Good morning, nephew. And good morning, all my nephews, friends, fans, and associates. Greetings from around the world. Grand Rising. How are you today? I'm doing amazing. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm a little disappointed I'm not in the studio, but we're building out a studio here as well. And eventually, probably next week, we'll be ready to officially turn this around. Let y'all see this studio, just like we did in Miami. So shout out to Unc in the building. Shout out to Slow Burn in the building. Morning, Nick is spooking people because he's over the target. Hold on, where's my? Make sure I got this right. Don't want to hear on the shirt. Nick is spooking people because he's over the target. I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. And see, hopefully y'all can hear me. Matter of fact, we don't even need any music. We don't need any instrumental. Nick is spooking people because he's over the target. This young man is talented and he's willing to do what other people used to be willing to do, but now are getting called out on it. He's standing on principle. He's not compromising. And I don't agree with him on everything at all, but I understand the attraction to him. And this is what I want to call out. When we have limited leaders and when we have compromising leaders, especially when it comes to the men, when we have our men that continue to compromise ourselves in our leadership, what it ends up doing is drawing people to other people where even if they may not agree or even if they may say certain things that come off harshly, it doesn't matter because it's coming across genuine. This is what got Donald Trump elected. This is what got a lot of people attracted to Donald Trump and his new way of communicating, which wasn't politically correct. And even Donald Trump has gotten away from this. And it's cost Donald Trump as well, because Donald Trump, when he initially ran, was a totally different person. And let me say this. It was a totally different type of campaign. He was the independent guy that was going against all the people that were getting funded by all the people with a lot of money. And then this last election, he started being one of the people taking a whole bunch of money from people as well that he probably wouldn't have considered taking money from before. So this is just a result. Everything is just a reaction. Everything is a reaction. So we're going to go through a bunch of stuff today. Shout out to Kevin Stevens. Oy vey, oy vey, oy vey. What culture, what nationality is that, brother? Looking forward to today's show. I'm not sure what the topic is, but I know it's going to be outstanding. We're going to be talking about Nick Fuentes. We're going to be looking at this Nick Fuentes conversation with Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines, because it's funny, actually. On the last show on Wednesday, I know not a lot of people can tap in on a Wednesday, but on Wednesday night, we were talking about Nick Fuentes, and one of the things that came up was the fact of how we didn't want to accept Andrew Tate, right? Andrew Tate was seen as too radical. He was seen as, oh, he's standing on certain things that we can't possibly accept. He's going against this woke culture. He's calling out victimhood mentality, all these different things. People hated on Andrew Tate, tried to get him locked up. Matter of fact, did get him locked up, tried to cancel him completely. And now what I'm seeing happen is we went from Andrew Tate to now Nick Fuentes, who's now the new leader of this young group of men in particular. And Nick Fuentes is on a whole different level than Andrew Tate. I think most people would say that he's more radicalized than Andrew Tate. The things that he says shocks you a little bit more, especially with the things that Andrew Tate was saying. And when you think about what Andrew Tate, when you look at the things that Andrew Tate was saying before, in today's context, it's not that shocking. Now the things that Nick Fuentes is saying, because he's moved the goalposts, he's moved along the spectrum, the things he's saying is even more radical. He's saying the N-word. He's saying all these different things. And you know what? A whole bunch of black people are feeling what he's saying and are appreciating what he's saying. May not like it all the time, but they're appreciating the genuine approach, the genuine delivery that he's giving, even compared to a guy like Trump, who Trump was saying all these things, was supposed to be the guy that stands on not being politically correct, doesn't care what the establishment encourages him to do. And now look at what Trump looks like. Trump looks like another establishment president. That's what he looks like. Now we'll see how things play out, but this is what happens when leaders don't stand on principles and leaders don't stand on their values and they get compromised. New leaders come on board that are more radical, and because you've pissed people off, now they're open to seeing this new person that they may not have even considered before. All right, so shout out, yeah, Maya, let me know that there's no echo. Maya, let me know if there's an echo when I start playing videos, because it may be coming through the mic as well. All right, let's keep going. Antonice in the building. Good morning. OMG, where you been, fam? Shout out to Antonice in the building. Always great to see you tapping in early. Always great to see you tapping in early. Von's tuned in. Who is this Nick guy? OG is in the building. Vons, if you're not familiar with this Nick guy, then you haven't been paying attention. If you're not familiar with this Nick guy, then you haven't been paying attention. And I'm sure you've seen some of his clips and whatnot, like a bunch of us. But for me, what caught my attention to Nick Fuentes is the people that he was going against, the people that Nick Fuentes was beginning to have certain feuds with. And I shouldn't say that. What initially caught my attention with Nick Fuentes was, I don't know if you guys remember, a while back I showed a Jason Whitlock video where Jason Whitlock was comparing what Nick Fuentes said to Jesse Jackson. Nick Fuentes made certain comments that pissed off the black community, where he was saying that he doesn't want to live around black people. You remember we had that long conversation? He said he didn't want to live around black people, and he gave a bunch of reasons. And Jason Whitlock actually brought up a comment that Jesse Jackson made years ago, which is when he was talking about walking down the street and it's dark at night. When he sees a black person, he tenses up. It's a whole different energy. If he's going to an ATM, I'm not sure if he used the ATM example, but I think it was just walking down the street. And he said if it's a black person, he's thinking about getting robbed. If it's a white person, once he realizes it's a white person, there's a sense of relief. That's what Jesse Jackson said. So he was comparing the two, saying that, yeah, we'll get upset with, oh, shoot, hold on. This is why y'all got to tell me when my, when it's coming through bum audio. My fault, I didn't have the mic turned on. But he was saying that, you know, he has a sense of relief when it's a white person. So how can Jesse Jackson say this and we agree with it, but then Nick Fuentes say certain things that may trigger the black community? Because what happens when you shine a light on somebody's imperfections, when you shine a light on somebody's problems, people don't tend to like that. And apparently you have to be a part of a particular group in order to criticize them. But if that's the case, then we wouldn't be able to talk about anything. I wouldn't be able to talk about what's going on in the Middle East. I wouldn't be able to talk about Russia and Ukraine. I wouldn't be able to talk about anything other than black topics. No. Nick Fuentes is allowed to comment. Now, you may not like how he comments. I may not like how he comments, but we're going to go through it because for whatever reason, it's highlighting a problem in our country. It's highlighting a problem in our country. Do I think that Nick Fuentes, his approach is the right approach to the goals that I have for humanity? Absolutely not. But when I look at Nick Fuentes and see what he's pushing from an American white nationalist standpoint, I can totally understand how people are going to get behind this. I can totally understand how there's a whole bunch of white people in America who are tired and have experienced all this black fatigue. And that's the reason why you get a Shiloh Hendricks who can call a little boy the N-word and then make all this money. There's a reason behind all of this. And we ignore it. We ignore it. We think that you can just continuously push people in one direction and then that there's not going to have a response, a equal and opposite reaction that now people are getting on board with. So we're going to go through everything. One of those black people. Yeah, facts. Vons wrote, well, I'm not scared of black people. Okay, Eb, shout out to Eb in the building. What's up, Eb? Eb, we need you on this combo. All right, we need you on this combo. This is going to be a good one. Vons wrote, I'm not scared of black people. Vons. And see, this is the thing. This is why Nick Fuentes is becoming popular. Vons said he's not scared of black people. Vons, is it an issue of being scared of black people, or is it an issue of understanding the reality of a situation where you walking in certain neighborhoods may put you in more harm than walking in other neighborhoods? Like, it doesn't take a racist to admit that, hey, I may feel a little bit more comfortable walking around Livingston than walking around Newark in certain areas. I may feel a little bit more comfortable walking around the Upper East Side in Manhattan than walking around the Bronx. I don't have to be a racist to say that. But we tend to always focus on the fact, well, you're a racist, you're talking about this. Let's go to the root of the problem. Where is crime more significant? Where are we more likely to get robbed, to get whatever, where are we more likely to experience crime? Where are we more likely to have our car stolen? If we're being honest with ourselves and honest with the situation, then we can address the problem in a direct manner and say, hey, we need to fix this. But what tends to happen? Black people get criticized. We say you shouldn't be criticizing us. We usually bring up something that has to do with slavery, justifying why we act the way that we act and why things are the way that we are, the way that they are. We typically blame white supremacy for it. And then the problem just continues to get worse. Meanwhile, we got to live in the neighborhoods that are black. And meanwhile, a whole bunch of people in the neighborhood then have to suffer from the terrible culture that impacts the black neighborhoods. If we're just being honest. If we're just being honest here, like, if we're just being real, Eb said, what's up? Big bro in the building, Shout out to Big Bro Pete in the building. Eb bro, I understand. I grew up in a black neighborhood and I feel that way towards white folks. When I had white neighbors, they made me so uncomfortable, so damn nosy too. All right, we're going to talk about it. When I would speak, they would start asking questions about patterns of who was there and my personal business. I stopped being so friendly after that. I was barely friendly to start, but that sealed it. So let me make sure that I'm understanding correctly, Eb. So you grew up in a black neighborhood when you had white neighbors in the black neighborhood, you're saying, or just white neighbors when you moved into more of a white neighborhood? All right, we're gonna go through all this. We're gonna go through all this because, like it or not, people are tired of all the black victimhood. And like it or not, it hasn't done us any good. We haven't elevated in any position. And I think this is across the board. I think we're just going to go through it. We're going to start with this Jason Whitlock video. And he's going to go through why he believes that Nick Fuentes is the next Barack Obama. You heard that correctly. So we're going to start off with this Jason Whitlock video, and then we're going to go through a bunch of different videos. I have a Jonathan Greenblatt video from the ADL. We got a Dr. Umar video. Everybody should be familiar with Dr. Umar. And what I've taken away from briefly watching the majority of these videos is that nationalism just doesn't work. Nationalism just doesn't work. It's a temporary feel-good solution that creates more of a problem. I think Malcolm X realized this when he was pushing black nationalism and had one viewpoint when it came to the Nation of Islam. And then when he split away from the Nation of Islam, went on his pilgrimage, recognized that there was a whole bunch of other Muslims that come from a bunch of different backgrounds, very diverse, and he changed his perception, in my opinion, of Black nationalism. I think that nationalism just simply doesn't work in a country that has multiple nationalities. However, I think we all need to recognize that when a group of people have been made to feel, for whatever reason, whether we believe it's justified or not, when a group of people have been made to feel like victims, they are going to have a certain appeal. They're going to be attracted to things that focus on just them and solving their problems. It's natural. If you make me feel as if I'm not getting the attention that I deserve and I start to believe like, well, why am I not getting this attention? Why am I being oppressed? Why are these things happening to me? Why is somebody trying to keep me down? And it's very easy for me to blame rather than for me to look internally. So what ends up happening? I start to look for other people that are willing to blame and call out certain issues and are just going to focus on me and mine and what matters to me. That becomes very attractive. But does that bring us together? Does that unite us? Does that get us closer to what we've talked about on this show plenty of times? This power of oneness, godliness, us realizing our spiritual connection to each other? Or does it divide us and temporarily solve problems, but those temporary fixes are more like a Band-Aid rather than actually creating a cure to the problem and solving that problem? It's almost just brewing the next racial war or whatever we've deemed as the dividing factor in separating us. All right, so let me catch up with the comments very quickly. Let me share the screen for you guys. All right, let me get over here. And Zachariah wrote, this doesn't apply to Fuentes. Zachariah, I don't know which exactly you're referring to. I'm not sure. When you tapped into the show, we're talking about a bunch of different things. I think that this absolutely applies to Nick Fuentes. And I don't know what you mean as far as this doesn't apply. So if you can, just be clear and say, what is this that doesn't apply to Nick Fuentes? Nick Fuentes is a response. He's a response to being pro-America and being America first. Being a nationalist. Looking up the definition of nationalist. Nick Fuentes has acknowledged that he's a nationalist. Now, he goes back and forth certain times, and we're going to see in this video that he did with Andrew Tate and Myron Rolle, where he's coming across a little bit differently than some of his other videos, where Nick Fuentes has acknowledged that America is a white nation. It has a white culture. And one of the things that he's very concerned with, immigration and other cultures infiltrating American culture, whether that's immigration, whether that's Israel. He talks about it on a wide range. He is pushing and prioritizing white American culture. It is what it is. So I don't see how we can deny that. I think that we should be upfront, real about it, and then address it, understand why, and figure out how we can fix it if there's something that needs to be fixed. So Eb wrote, I feel more comfortable with Black folks. Right now, the Hispanic neighbors where I am are snitches to the Hispanic property management. Well, Eb, I know plenty of, if you feel comfortable around Black folk, then I know plenty of places that are available to you for very affordable prices. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it there. I grew up in a historically Black neighborhood, though, and was taught its history from young. All right, so you may have a little bit of a unique experience. Well, good morning, nephew. I don't want you to ever feel as though I'm avoiding you or making you feel that way. What you mean, huh? I'm finding less believing in God, more believing in stuff. Slow burn, less believing in God, more believing in stuff. This is exactly what I'm feeling. And this is why I've called out the religions. This is why I call out a lot of these groups that separate us rather than unite us. And this is why, first and foremost, I target the religions more than anybody else, because the religions, in my opinion, are responsible for separating us more than perhaps anything. The religions. And what is a belief in God? You can't believe in God, in my opinion, and not prioritize humanity as a whole. You can't believe in this is some of my issues with Christianity, where if I pledge my allegiance to Christianity, if I accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, then technically that means that I can get into heaven, right? I will be forgiven for all my sins. But let's say that I'm an extremely sinful person. I've done terrible things, but then before I pass away, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. You're telling me that I can get into heaven, but this good brother over here who's just lived a life caring for people, being a good human, having a spiritual connection, but not ever pledging his life to Jesus, you're telling me that he can't get into heaven? It just never made sense to me. It doesn't prioritize good people. It doesn't prioritize good behavior. What it prioritizes, in my opinion, is an allegiance. Is me saying, hey, I pledge my allegiance to Christianity. I accept Christianity. God, in my opinion, if your God is not representing a spiritual connection with everybody, then how is that God? How is that God? You're no different than believing that when we talk about certain groups saying that they're the chosen people, or this group is chosen, or this group is favored more than this group. How are you any different? If man, we all know that man has created religion. And this is my biggest critique of religion. We've allowed man to middleman the relationship between us and God, which is compromising our relationship between each other as spiritual beings and all being children of God. And we've allowed man to separate us from each other from the appearance of it being godly, when in all actuality, it's the complete opposite. Let's keep going. But he doesn't say it's a white nation. Zechariah, I will show you a video where he has exactly said that. And I don't know if I'll find you the video. I'm telling you, he said it. He said that preserving white culture. I don't know what you mean as far as a white nation, but when you're trying to preserve white culture and you're saying that what American culture is white culture, then what are you like? Why are you playing word games? It is what it is. I'm not even saying that I got an issue with it. American culture is white culture. Let's just be honest. The Europeans came over here, conquered America, conquered the land, and created their culture. Like, I don't understand why we play these games. This is why Nick Fuentes is as popular as he is. He doesn't have to play these games. He didn't say it was a white nation. He didn't say. The man said that he's trying to preserve white American culture. Now, if he's saying that the nation is American, I mean, the nation is white. Obviously, there's other people who are here outside of just white people. So I don't even really understand that. And people like him can move back to Germany or wherever their ancestors are from, laughing my ass off. How rich. Just Joy, laughing. Just shout out to Just Joy in the building. Hi, my girl Joy. And Bonds wrote, mixed areas are better. OG, I agree. I agree. I'm realizing, and I've had a lot of shifts in my thinking and development over the last 10, 15 years. And I believe it's come from me passionately leaning into certain things. And this is why I always get into it with a bunch of my friends and family, where they'll say you're stubborn. I've had certain people say that I'm stubborn. And it's like, no, I passionately lean into what I believe at that time based on the information. But I'm always open to changing my opinion, which is why I've gone all over the place. Vons, you can look at my text in the group message. I've completely shifted my thinking on a lot of these different areas based on receiving new information and based on me figuring out different ways to advance humanity. And when I say advance humanity, really what I'm shifting a lot of my stances on is because I've shifted my goals. My goals used to be more focused on Black people in particular. My goals are no longer just focused on that. My goals have, you can say, have gotten bigger, whatever it is. My goals are just different. My goals are focused on figuring out a way for us as humans to live in harmony and to achieve what we've talked about on this show is this greater peace. So my goals have shifted. So therefore my stances had to shift and my strategy and technique has shifted. Montclair, Bloomfield, etc. And Vons, you should know better than anybody else. You grew up in Montclair, New Jersey with me. What is it known for? It's nationally known for its diversity. We grew up in one of the most diverse places in the world, and we loved it for it. Ed, bro, I know my Black neighborhood is nothing like O Block or Southeast DC, though, so I get it. And this is the point, Ed. When Nick Fuentes is talking, he's growing up in Chicago, and he's talking specifically about Chicago. But we'll get into all this. We'll get into all this. Show me the video. I think we're actually gonna. I think the video may actually come up in this conversation. So Zacharias, stick around. Stick around. Stick around. 100%. He said this. Yeah. Let me just let me just get to some of the videos because the comments. Y'all keep the comments going. Do me a favor. We keep the comments coming because obviously we can have a dialogue in the comments as well. But I also just want to make sure that I get through the videos as well. So I'll comment in the comments and kind of try to extract what I can where it makes sense. But let's get to the actual video.
I want to play this Cartier family clip. And then I got one other clip I want to play. But the Cartier family with young people.
I'm going to fast forward because I already see. I want to make sure that I'm interacting with y'all as much as possible on this show. I want to make sure that I'm interacting with y'all.
People, including young Black men. Let's play SOT number 5.
There's got to be one real nigga. Can the real please stand up? There has to be one real left in America, in this damn country. Are there any real niggas left that actually got censored and banned on YouTube? Where's the real niggas?
Yeah, for real. Like he's undeniably stayed true to his point and he's unwavered since the day that I first even discovered him. And I think the more and more I listen to him and the more and more I grow and mature as a man, I think he's right. Like he just makes a lot of points. Now, do I agree with everything he says? No, but that's naturally. I'm not a person that agrees with everyone, but I think a lot of what he says is undeniably the truth.
Now, I'm going to play a little bit of Jason Whitlock's video in response to this. Black people, we can recognize it or not. The fact that their response to his video is what it is and not the maybe typical emotional, more from a perspective of Dr. Umar or whoever else, or just maybe an everyday Black person who's not comfortable with a white person speaking on these type of things. Doesn't bother me. I'll be totally honest. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me for a bunch of different reasons. It shows the lack of leadership among Black people. And you know why else it doesn't bother me? Is because I've said the same thing to myself. I've said the same thing in conversations. What do y'all think that I'm saying when I always talk about the lack of male leadership and I'm specifically talking about the Black community? What do y'all think that I'm talking about? I'm talking about there being absolutely no real men. Now, I may not like that this white kid said real niggas, but I really don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't impact me. I don't want to fight him over it. It is what it is. There's not a lot of real people standing up. When we have communities that go down a terrible path, or you have communities that suffer from violence, selling drugs to your own community, dirty environments, all these different things that we think of when we think of Black neighborhoods. Now, we may not be talking about the Black neighborhoods that Ed grew up in, but when we think about Black neighborhoods, what are we thinking about? It doesn't look like a place that's designed for us to grow and fulfill our potential. It's areas that suffer from what? Women raising kids, not having any men, not having any positive male figures. Why do we think kids decide to join gangs? They don't have the love from their father at home. They're looking for family. They're looking for this male leader. And that when they don't find one, what do they turn to? They listen to the music that we absorb in our culture. They watch the movies. We watch a couple paid in full movies. And then when we go outside, we see all of these people, all of the men in our neighborhood, we decide to act like them. And is that leading us down a positive path or a negative path? And then when you have certain men that will speak up and call out certain things and call out the Black community, what typically ends up happening? You're an Uncle Tom, you're this. Cool. And y'all are still in the same position that you're in, and your kids are going to still be in the same position that they're in. Why? Because we don't address the problem. We fight more against people talking shit about us rather than us actually fixing our shit. We get so emotionally engaged, and why? Because we have a bunch of liberal movements that convince us that, oh, you're victims, you're only this because of white people, white supremacy has held you back, it's slavery, all these other things, so that you will just follow them and support them. And so that they can tease you with social programs that are never meant or designed to actually uplift you, but only to keep you committed to those people that are in power. I've had those same sentiments. Y'all don't think I sit back and sit here and like, damn, we've been doing this show for three years, damn near. I feel like we put out great content that's really trying to elevate people and get people to the next level. But then I see all the stuff that gets attention, all the stuff that gets a whole bunch of views, all the stuff that gets a whole bunch of likes. And I'm like, damn, that's not even real stuff that's actually advancing us. There's a reason why I stopped talking about relationships on the show and stopped, because it was just clouding, in my opinion, the growth of the show. It's like, yo, people are like, we're talking about, like, we're not even able to have a conversation that can be processed in a way that we can grow from it, rather than us just arguing and playing the blame game. So when we have these conversations that I think are meant to advance people, meant to elevate us on purpose, what are the things that we always talk about? And I look around and I see all these other goofies getting a whole bunch of attention. Y'all don't think I feel the same way? So I understand what he's saying. Let's listen to what Jason Whitlock's saying. So selfishly, maybe you could say, damn, I hear Nick Fuentes and I'm looking around like, yo, I don't see. Let me ask y'all a question. If you don't like what he just said, as far as are there any real niggas, let me ask y'all this. Who are the real niggas? Is it Barack Obama? Is it Kamala Harris? Is it Hakeem Jeffries? Who are they? Is it Dr. Umar, who's been trying to create a school raising money for the last 15 years? And now the school's about to get auctioned off because they ran out of money or whatever. It doesn't even matter. Now, I'll tell you some of the people. I'll give you an example. King Randall. King Randall down in Georgia started his own school, doing different programs in the community, got people waking up before the sun comes up and doing runs in the community. There are some people out here, but they just don't get the attention that the other BS people get. We like watching The Breakfast Club. We like being entertained. We like watching No Jumper. We like listening to Whack 100 talk about drama. These are the things that we're attracted to. How do I know? Because I'm attracted to them as well. I have to consciously tell myself, like, nah, that ain't it, bro. Like, focus your attention on this. We're attracted to all the things that lead us in the wrong direction. And thank God Nick Fuentes is willing to call it out. because we're not willing to call it out ourselves. Let's keep going.
He's winning. And well, you know what? We're just gonna go out and
hold on. I gotta comment because Big Bro just brought up a great point. Some might say American culture is actually Black culture and Black inspired culture, music, athletes, art, etc. I agree to a certain extent. Black culture is entertaining to all of America. It is the most entertaining culture when it comes to American culture. It is what the rest of the world is attracted to for the same reasons why people who are not Black in America are attracted to it. And the reason why we're attracted to it is the same reason why we're attracted to a lot of other things that excite us, but we just don't want to take part in it. I'm going to be attracted to watching Power, to watching what's the show with the white guy selling drugs with his teacher? I'm going to be attracted to The Wire. I'm going to be attracted to, think about all the TV shows that we're attracted to. We're attracted to them for the wrong reasons. And the difference between it serving as entertainment purposes for other Americans rather than Black Americans, Black people, we're actually trying to follow through and live out the entertainment. Because when we come outside of our doors, when you grow up in a Black neighborhood and you come outside of your doors, you actually see the culture that's being presented on TV that is just supposed to be for entertainment purposes. So while it's other people's entertainment purposes, it's actually the reality. It's actually the bubble that these people are living in, that our young kids are growing up in. So they absorb the culture differently compared to a white kid in America growing up in a white neighborhood where they can look on TV and be entertained by the same ignorance in Black culture. They can be entertained by it the same way, but there's a separation of entertainment and reality. There's a separation of, oh, well, yeah, I'm attracted to that, but eventually I'm going to mature and, you know, get a good job like my parents and have a good life and not get caught up in that. You don't absorb the culture the same way. So it impacts you in a completely different way. If we're just being honest, we all like Black culture. Who doesn't like Black culture? It's entertaining. It's fun. It's all these different things. It's all the vices that we know are not good for us, but Black people are willing to do it. Why do we think we see the video with Leor Cohen? We see the video with Leor Cohen. I'm going to tell you real quickly. I was looking up the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and I was looking up their mission. I was looking up the mission of the ADL. And if you're not familiar, Leor Cohen is one of the people that Kanye West always calls out. So it's been understood that the Jewish community are some of the most powerful people in running the entertainment industry, and more specifically, the hip hop industry. And we've heard different rap artists like Meek Mill and other people come out and say, hey, you know, these people, they're paying us more to put out this ignorance to our people. They're paying us more, so therefore we're going to do it. Now, whose fault is that? Should we put more accountability on the actual entertainers that know they're getting paid more to spread poison to their community and choose to do so? Or should we put more responsibility on Leor Cohen and the Jewish community? Now, when I was looking up the ADL and I looked up their mission, and hold on, I got it on the screen. I literally just happened to be looking up this stuff before we got on the show. Let me see if y'all can see it. It says to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all. So I wasn't even going to talk about this, but immediately my mind went to is like, damn, I know certain artists, certain rappers like Jay-Z have gotten in trouble for saying certain things about the Jewish community and highlighting some of the successes that they make from a business standpoint. And the ADL and other organizations have called them out by saying, hey, don't talk about that stuff. Why? If you understand the history of why that may make Jewish people nervous, then it kind of makes sense, or at least you can understand why they're doing it, because just looking around, we understand that there's been a how can I put this? The stereotype for Jewish people is that they're very successful and they run everything. So therefore, they don't want more people saying that they run everything. They'd rather be low key because them being successful in a lot of areas has caused them a lot of problems in a lot of areas, just being totally honest. But when I look at this, to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all, I'm sitting here thinking like, damn, here the ADL has called out black rappers for saying favorable things about the Jewish community, but the ADL doesn't call out these same black rappers who are working for Jewish executives talking about destroying the black community and defaming the black community when you say that you're supposed to secure justice and fair treatment to all. So I was just thinking about these things. So let me get back to what the focus was. But the point that I'm making is that even though America promotes and makes a lot of money off of black culture, people do not accept it and embrace it the way that black people embrace it and accept it, because it's in front of black people. We live in it. If you live in a black neighborhood, I didn't grow up in that type of neighborhood. So therefore, I was able to distinguish myself from, and also had a black father in my life who I thought was the coolest man on the planet. So therefore, I didn't need to go and look and seek out other validation from other men and get love from other men, because I had that at home. But what happens in a lot of the black communities? Let's just be honest, or are we going to sugarcoat that? A lot of kids grow up without fathers. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Our exploitation is their entertainment. You just summed it up correctly right there. You just summed it up correctly. Yeah, you just summed it up correctly. And what did Vaughn's write? What did Vaughn's write? He said, it's been that way. Jews stay making money off our foolishness. Jews and everybody else. But I can't sugarcoat it. When it comes to the entertainment industry, it has been Jewish people. And the problem is that, and this is what ends up happening. And we're going to see, this is why I say nationalism, it can't work, because what ends up happening now, Vaughn's just said something that I've said, where it's like, okay, Jews are they control a lot of the hip hop industry. You're not wrong, but now we just took a few Jews, right? We took a few Jews. We did what we did with policing, when it's like, okay, a few bad cops now set the name. Now they determine how we look at all cops. And the reason why we've said it before is because, well, when the quote unquote good cops don't speak out against the bad behavior of the bad cops, then it makes us look at all of y'all the same. It's just humanity. It's just how people respond to things naturally, if we're just being honest. So the same way, the reason why I was triggered by the Anti-Defamation League and their mission is, I'm like, damn, here you're clearly paying attention to what's going on in hip hop culture, and you can have a problem with something being said in a favorable way about Jewish people, but you don't have a problem with just the overall hip hop industry and how it's promoting all this poison to all of us as humanity? Or is it just when it focuses on Jewish people? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing you could say with black people. When certain people don't call out bad behavior of black people, they're going to lump all of us into the same category. It's just how human beings work. It's how we operate. You could say good or bad. It just is what it is. Let's listen to a couple minutes of Jason Whitlock's response, and then we're going to get to the actual video with Andrew Tate, Myron Gaines, and Nick Fuentes. Oh, I didn't even.
It's not going to fix it.
My fault. I didn't even have it on the screen. And honestly, we're going to move on to the next video, because in what Jason Whitlock is saying, in my opinion, when he's referring him to the next Barack Obama, he's an answer to victimhood. This whole black fatigue thing, now there's a whole bunch of people, and Nick Fuentes has said this before, where there's a bunch of white people that feel that they've had opportunities taken away from them, and that other people, whether it's immigrants, whether it's all these different things, and some of it may be true, but what it's creating is a victimhood mentality among a lot of white people now. So now what is the answer to it? You have a Nick Fuentes, somebody who may be willing to stand up for white people, somebody, Barack Obama. Oh yeah, we need a black president. We need this because we've been so marginalized. We've been marginalized and oppressed for so long. So you take what you want from it. But let's start getting into the real the heavy parts of these convos. So there's a few things that I want to play, and I think I'm going to start off with this clip. Before we get into that video, I want to show y'all this. Can you see it? Hold on. I want to show y'all this this short that Brandon Tatum put up. So let's talk about it. This aligns. I'm changing the order because it just flows with the conversation that we're already having.
In the comment section, let me know, do you think he have a point about some of the things he's saying?
The reason that people have negative attitudes about black people is because most people's interactions with black people are negative.
Most
people's interactions with black people is when you're stuck in traffic and you see a Nissan Altima speeding down the shoulder. And you say, what the f***? You're not supposed to do that. But it's like these people have no respect for decorum. They think the rules don't apply to them. They have no respect for society.
I think that Nick Fuentes is 100% true, or telling 100% truth for certain black people. Like if you've ever lived in America long enough to...
Let me pause it right there. And then I'm going to rewind what he said again. There's people in my family. There's people in my friend group. There's a reason why I try to follow, like, I try to be principled and follow the rules. I'm laughing because a lot of times we try to excuse certain behavior or rationalize why we should be able to do certain things based on, well, this happened to my people a long time ago. This happened to Let's just be honest, yo. Let's be honest. A lot of the stuff that he's saying, it was created. Now, a lot of times I think that this was created by victimhood. When you convince somebody that things are always happening to them and that things have been unfair to them, what do they tend to do? They tend to justify why things should now be overly or unfair for other people and more favorable to them at the expense of other people, at the expense of things being fair. We've seen this happen when it comes to DEI. Which is why my takeaway on DEI, you could say that it started off with affirmative action and it did some good things in the beginning, but eventually it was always going to lead to this. You can't solve racism with racism. You can't, it gets to a point where, okay, affirmative action, that may have been seen as some form of reparations to repair something. But when you continue it on for so long with DEI, what ends up happening? Now you're justifying certain people getting certain opportunities, whether colleges or any other place, that they do not deserve based on the standards. And now they're getting those opportunities based on them being black. And it's taking away certain opportunities from other people because, oh, we got to, have more black people. We got to have more women. We got to have, and DEI, obviously we understand that the studies have shown that it helps white women and people who have disabilities and a whole bunch of other people more than black people, which is another complete argument in itself. But this is just my takeaway on a lot of this stuff. You can't solve racism with just reverse it. Eventually, what's going to happen? Then you're going to have to reverse it back. Then you got to reverse it. We just got to figure out a way to stop looking at all of these sub-identities as our primary identity. The only way that America is going to work, in my opinion, is if we create an America where people are proud to identify as America before identifying with all of the other things that we identify with. That's how I look at humanity. The only way for us to live in harmony when it comes to humanity is for us to feel that we're identifying more so with humanity and prioritizing that identity above all of the other different identities, whether it's religious, whether it's country, whether it's sexual orientation, whatever it may be. Now, y'all may be sitting here thinking, looking at me like, yeah, right, that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen if we believe it's never going to happen. But to me, it's the only option. So either we'll get there by choice or we'll get there by force. Let's rewind it back. Let me know. Does Nick Fuentes have a point when he says all these things? Is this your experience with black people? I don't know. Is this your experience? We just saw the comment that Bonds made about when we talk about Jews, right? When we talk about an entire group of people, even when we talk about the entertainment industry, let's be real. Out of the entire Jewish population, it's a very small percentage that's clearly running the hip hop industry. But when we call it out, we say Jews. We say Jewish people, right? So is Nick Fuentes wrong when he calls out his interactions with black people and he calls out the most radical ones? I don't know. Y'all tell me. Let's listen to it again.
Black people is because most people's interactions with black people are negative.
Most
people's interactions with black people is when you're stuck in traffic and you see a Nissan Altima speeding down the shoulder. And you say, what the f***? You're not supposed to do that. But it's like these people have no respect for decorum. They think the rules don't apply to them. They have no respect for society.
I think that Nick Fuentes is 100% true, or telling 100% truth, for certain black people. Like if you've ever lived in America long enough to be around different groups of people, live in diverse cities, you realize this is not most black people, but it is sections of black communities and experiences that people are having with black people like this. I think black people do this more than anybody else do it per capita, but this is not every black person is like this. Like,
did y'all just hear the BSing that he just gave? He went from this is not every black person to, well, I think black people do this more per capita than any other group, but it's not every black person. So for Nick Fuentes to say something about black people, it has to be every single black person. Every single black person doesn't represent what black culture has become and penetrated around the entire world. However, it's still known as black culture. It's not realistic. This is what happens when we can't remove our emotions and just say, you know what? This young kid has a point. This young kid has a point. And this is what impacts us in so many different areas. This is why I say when Nick Fuentes came on the show and saying, are there any real niggas left? Brandon Tatum. Let's just be honest. And y'all may say this is out of left field, but and I'm not even talking specifically about him. You're married to a white woman, right? Cool. I have absolutely no issue with that. We're getting ready to actually get into intermarriage and a conversation around that. We're going to go a bunch of different places today. You're married to a white woman. We see a lot of successful players and stuff. Now, even though stats came out that the majority of black men who are successful they marry black women, like it's the overwhelming majority. Now, it's always been a thing that black men get successful and then they marry outside of their race. And I think right now, because there's such conflict between black men and black women, that this is a conversation that comes up a lot more than it used to before. I have these conversations with some of my black friends where they're like, damn, like I feel bad, like dating a white girl. I feel like I should be dating a black girl. Like I feel bad about this. But you know what we also have a conversation on is why you feel that you're ending up with a white woman. And see, if people keep it real with black women instead of Dr. Umar trying to pander and Dr. Umar running around saying that marriage or interracial marriage is terrible, why don't you actually address the root of the problem? Why are so many black men feeling this about black women? Why are so many black women feeling this about black men? Or does it have to apply to every single? See, I can't make a comment about black women because then how will black women take it? Well, that's not every single black woman. Okay. Can't have a conversation about that. I have absolutely no problem when people talk about black men. If it applies to me, cool. I need to look internally and address it. If it doesn't apply to me, then it doesn't apply to me. But I don't have to be overly emotional and go into defense mode where I'm just trying to defend it because you're talking about a group of people that I am a part of. If that behavior does not align with my behavior, it is what it is. Matter of fact, let's figure out a way to address it. Now, Officer Tatum, he's sitting there trying to play. This is where the realness comes in. He's trying to play both sides. He's trying to not say, well, you know, what he's saying is right, but it's only right for some black people. Well, isn't that the case with how we describe any and everything? Nothing applies to everybody. If we say that, hey, there's a lot of former NFL players that go broke after playing in the NFL, and that's not all NFL players. Or if I just said NFL players go broke after the NFL, and somebody got mad and said, well, that's not all. Well, when you look at the numbers, what they used to be, 80 to 85% filed bankruptcy within 5 years of leaving the NFL, I think that that's a fair statement. Oh, well, it's not all of them, so you can't bring. It's a corny argument, in my opinion.
Having with black people like this. I think black people do this more than anybody else do it per capita, but this is not every black person is like this. Like we went to IHOP when we were in Orlando, Florida. The black people in there were ghetto, but they were nice. Not every black person that's in the hood is a bad person. I grew up in the hood. Most black people in the hood.
Who is saying that every black person that grows up in the hood is a bad person? Like, you see how it just gets to a point where it's like, yo, what are you even talking about?
Don't like the black people that are acting up. Most black people in the hood are not acting up. It's the ones that act up get the most attention. Ghetto, but they were nice. Not every black person that's in the hood is a bad person. I grew up in the hood. Most black people in the hood don't like the black people that are acting up.
Most black people in the hood don't like the black people that are acting up. So that's exactly why we need to call it out. And this should extend to America. This should extend to every single culture, every single identity that we mistakenly, in my opinion, when it comes to godliness, that we mistakenly prioritize over just our identity as humans. We're not able to do this, or we make this. We're not able to properly call out the bad behavior. I'm going off on a tangent. My fault. Let me stay focused. We'll watch the rest of this video and then we'll get into the video that I was telling y'all about.
Most black people in the hood are not acting up. It's the ones that act up get the most attention. I think that Nick Fuentes is 100% correct when it comes to the N's. N-words act like this. N-words are rude. And I think Nick Fuentes is an example, in my opinion, of a person who.
He said, hold on. I got to stop it. He's saying not all black people are behaving like this. It's the niggas. The niggas are the ones who act like this, the N-words, right? Let me ask y'all a question. That same culture that we've been talking about, black culture, isn't that dominated by what you would say are niggas and nigga culture? But see, people aren't allowed to say that, right? That same black culture, what are we talking about when it comes to black culture? Are we talking about Ben Carson? What are we talking about when it comes to black culture? It's all niggatry. That's what we're talking about. So when he sits here and says, well, Nick Fuentes, he's only talking about the N-words. He's only talking about the N-word. That has become dominant. Perhaps that's the reason why we're not being as successful as we can in this world, because our culture has been overrun by the worst of us.
Nick Fuentes is 100% correct when it comes to the ends. N-words act like this. N-words are rude. And I think Nick Fuentes is an example, in my opinion, of a person who only have a certain amount of experiences with black people, not the totality of how black people operate.
So now you got to have an experience with the totality of how black people operate to comment on it. This is why we can never solve problems. This is why we can never solve problems. Why can't it be simple? Black culture is terrible. We got to figure it out. We got to call out the black communities. If you decide, if you're willing to call it out, then also maybe we'll be willing to lend a helping hand. And what's your mindset? Do you really want to just call it out just because you're trying to call it out, or do you want to call it out because you're trying to bring about a change and to call out a problem so therefore we can figure out a solution?
He's never been in a neighborhood where black people are normal. He's probably experiencing black people hood, thug, N-words.
He's never been in a black neighborhood where black people are normal. He's only experiencing the black neighborhood. What did I say earlier to Ebony? Sounds like the neighborhood that you grew up in was pretty unique. Where are these black neighborhoods? Are these black neighborhoods in LA where black people are just normal? Are these black neighborhoods in Chicago where black people are just normal? In Seattle where black people are just normal? In Baltimore where black people are just normal? In Baton Rouge where black people are just normal? In New Orleans where black people are just normal? Where are these? Where? In DC where black people are normal? In the Bronx where black people are just normal? In Mount Vernon and Yonkers where black people are just normal? Where are we talking about? Where are we talking about?
And then now he's saying black people are like this. Most people interaction with black people are negative.
All right, we're gonna get into the convo. We are gonna get into the convo. All right, so where's the first one that I want to? So this is like I think they were on here for like 5 hours or something like that. So obviously we ain't gonna be able to watch all 5 hours. But let's this is probably a good place to start. Did I just mess it up? Hold on. Let me get 2:10:17. All right, we'll start here. I think this one is on. This is on the same topic. On the same topic. Do I want to go here? Yeah.
I think that what is called far right, what is called anti-Semitic, what is called white supremacist, it's really just reality.
And hold on. Because I see some people wrote, I'm in Maryland. I'm in Maryland. We have some of the most successful black communities in the country. Northern VA burbs have normal black people. You are 100% correct. I went to school in Virginia. Maryland and Northern Virginia is known nationally. Why do you think that you're known nationally for having these successful black groups? I mean, successful black areas. Didn't they have a Real Housewives or some show focusing on these black communities? They're unique. They do not represent the majority of black communities. So do we want to sit back and if we're trying to solve a problem, does it make sense for us to sit back and say, no, black communities are doing just well. They're doing well. You know, there's some in Virginia and Maryland, they're doing well. There's a lot like that around the country. Or does it make sense to say, it's an anomaly. These neighborhoods that we're talking about that are successful in black communities. And let's address all of the ones where we have our kids growing up in areas that are not conducive for them to become successful in life. It's hard for them to grow. They don't have the resources. They don't have the leadership. They don't have the love. They don't have the guidance. But we allow our ego to get in the way. So to defend people from talking about black people, we're going to bring up the anomalies to defend the fact that, black communities, no, there's some great black communities. And I'm not saying that that's what y'all are doing in the comments. I asked y'all for areas that are doing well. So I'm not saying which. Let me actually move judgmental because I don't want to make it seem like I'm calling y'all out. What we tend to do is we get offended and we say, no, there's black communities that are doing successful. This black guy's doing successful. Overall, we're sick. We're not healthy. We're not doing well. We're overweight. The average black woman is weighing like 185 pounds. And I don't want to misspeak, but I believe we said this before. We're a sick community. And if we continue to always defend the things that we do wrong, we're never going to figure out things and move forward. Why do we get offended by what he's saying? Shoot, we should be happy he's willing to call it out, and our leaders aren't even willing to call it out. What is, and I'm asking, what is the average weight of a black woman? I'm just writing it. It is what it is because I want to make sure I don't misspeak. I'm sorry. It's 188 and a half pounds. We're unhealthy. We're sick. We have problems. Can we fix them? Sign up for the Patreon. We got workout videos available for people. Like, how can you be more upset about the people that are calling out the problems in the community while also providing solutions? This is why I said I feel what Nick Fuentes said when he said, are there any real niggas talking on this stuff? Because not only little old me, and it is what it is. I'm tooting my own horn right now, you could say, but I'm just being real. Not only am I calling out the problems, I've always wanted to present a solution and always have tried to present a solution. Whether it's what we're doing now in workouts and providing different workouts to people and stuff like that, professional development, all these things that we give to people. We have everything. You can access everything on the Patreon for $10 a month. And then on YouTube, we've been doing this stuff for free for the last 3 years. And then before that, this is not anything new. 10 years ago, my mom and I and our family, we had a program helping the kids in the community. Shout out to Vons. Vons, I've told y'all before. Vons was with me in the snow, passing out flyers, going house to house to do free programs and camps for kids that help them with their education, their speech, their financial literacy, all these different things. And you want to know why we had to go house to house? Because the black person that we went to working in the Board of Education said that she didn't want to allow us to distribute flyers to the schools because the parents were complaining about receiving too many flyers. It wasn't the white man holding me back. It was the black person in central office who was in a very high role, which I won't say because then people can put two and two together, but it is what it is. This is why I appreciate what he's saying. Y'all don't listen to black people when they say it.
You know, I had a clip that went viral over the past couple weeks where I'm talking about black people in Chicago. And we emerged from a time recently where there was so much political correctness around the subject of race and race relations between blacks and whites. And so I think the conversation is sufficient now. People see my take, and what I'm saying is like, look, the city is a shithole, and it's a shithole because you got carjackings happening all the time. It's because you have this like impropriety everywhere. We talk about black people in America, people talk about fatigue, fatigue from dealing with black people. It's like we all know in our lived experience in our day-to-day, what we can expect from black people is people being inconsiderate, people being rude, aggressive, menacing, not following the rules. And that's kind of always been my position. Is like, on some level, people look at a person like myself or others and they think we want to ship all the black people out of America. We want to kill them all or something like that. And it's like, they've been here forever. They've been here for 400 years. They've been here longer than my family's been here. We just want them to behave. We just want to hold everybody to a standard where people are polite, respectful, clean, decent, peaceful. and the rest of it. And it's like, now that I'm back on these mainstream platforms, I do a monologue about it. And even the black people are all saying, yeah, I agree with him. I get where he's coming from. So, that's just like one example. I think that we really just need to return to common sense, and not like the gay common sense like Donald Trump, where, he says common sense is like no transgenderism. I'm talking about like old school racism being common sense, where it's like, yeah, we all know not all black people are bad. We also know what's going on with them, and yeah, we don't have some weird desire to like dominate women or, bully them. But we're also like, yeah, they kind of need to be put in their place. They do need a strong hand. They do need someone to treat them in an assertive way. And even as far as the Jews are concerned, for centuries, for millennia, we know what's going on with the Jews. Now, we don't want to kill them all. We don't want to hurt them. People say you're a Nazi. You want another Holocaust? Absolutely not. At the same time, we know they fucking love Israel, and they're very tribalist. Is it a good idea to have them run in Congress when they're walking in with an IDF uniform? Obviously not. So we just need that kind of like old school common sense. I would say that's maybe the rebrand. I would say I'm moderate. That's the misunderstanding.
Yeah, taking trips to Israel when they should be figuring out the Epstein files, shit like that. And I'll tell you this, Nick, like, it's funny to me because, people that aren't familiar with you or whatever, one of the first things they say is, you're friends with a white supremacist. And I'm like, this guy hates black people. Why are you even around? And I'm like, that's not true. Like, he doesn't. I know him in person. I've known him for a few years now. Very cordial, very nice. And then people forget that you literally helped Ye with Ye 24. So if you were so racist, why would you be helping a black man become president of the United States? So I always laugh when they say this stuff, when they say that dumb shit. But what about you, Andrew? What would you say is one of your positions that's always mischaracterized whenever you do interviews? I know a lot of people, there's a bunch with you I know they mischaracterize.
Yeah, but none of the mischaracterizations are.
What do y'all think? Best funny. We just want them to behave. Yeah, bro. And I didn't take what you said any type of way. I didn't take what you said any type of way. New folks that arrive here and talk shit about black folks are so damn annoying. Ed, why are they annoying? You know what it should be? It should be motivational. It should be inspirational. Why is it annoying? Why is it annoying? They're coming here and they're saying like, yo, what's up? Like, y'all need to step it up. Why does that annoy you? Why does that annoy us? If your family wasn't here during Reconstruction, Jim Crow, or civil rights, then it's always going to come from an asshole place. Have y'all ever gone to a business or worked in a type of place or been on a team where the culture is not good and they're trying to make certain improvements? And let's say that it's just they've been, they're okay, they're doing okay, but not really making as much money as they could, the business. And they bring in new people, and the new people are looking at it who are not used to just status quo, who are not used to the low standard of living. I mean, the low standards. I'm talking about living. I'm obviously relating it to our living conditions. When you have people that come in with a fresh set of eyes looking at things, it's like, yo, what are y'all doing? When you're in it, you don't even realize that it's so terrible. You don't even realize that you may even think that you're working hard until somebody else comes in and says, whoa, 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 whoa. This is all wrong. Yes, the people that work there are going to be annoyed. The people that have worked there for a very long time. But does that mean that the other people are wrong? So my question is, why are you annoyed? What's to be annoyed at? And the annoying, that's us being emotional. Is he right or is he wrong? That's what I'm focused on. Look, I'm trying to win. I don't care whether I get the criticism, the constructive criticism from somebody that doesn't like me, somebody that likes me. I just want the criticism because to be totally honest, we don't get the criticism from the people that like us. We don't tend to get that criticism. let's hold on. So Eb said it comes from a place of actual ignorance, no knowledge, no experience, no true understanding of how we got to this place. Okay, so let's say that you're working in that business and the corporation, it hasn't been doing well, right? Hasn't been doing well, but the new people come in and they say, yo, we got to change this up. It's not working. You're not achieving your goals. There's a reason why you brought me in here. There's a reason why I'm here to fix this. And the people that are there, they say, no, you weren't here when we started. You weren't here what we had to go through to start up the company. So therefore, what's your opinion on this situation doesn't matter. Yes, you may have gotten us from point A to point B, but sometimes you need a new energy to get from point B to point C. Just because we relied on somebody getting us from point A to point B doesn't mean that we should ignore new people that can come in and give us advice on how to get to point B to point C. Or even if they're not just giving us advice, they're just calling out the things that are preventing us from getting from point B to point C. Case in point, religion. We talked about it before. All these religions were designed to do what? They were designed to solve problems for that particular day and time. So people may look at the Islamic culture and say, why do the women have to cover themselves? Well, when we looked at when Islam came to be, it's because there was an over-sexualization of women. So we can understand, oh, it was solving that particular problem for that day and time. The problem is when we try to use religion and outdated text and outdated religion to solve updated problems or current problems, it doesn't work. It requires interpretation from man. It requires us to ignore certain things and to then, oh, well, this part is good, but this part is bad. Or, oh, what they were really trying to say is, no, what they were really trying to say is what they said. It was just for a different time period. So we may sit here and say, oh, if they come here, they don't understand the real history. And maybe it's better to not understand the history. Maybe it's better to not, if understanding the history gets us so emotional where we can't get out of our own ways and solve our own problems, then perhaps maybe the ignorance is really bliss in this situation. Perhaps us not having any association with what has happened in the past because we're so emotionally tied to it is going to give us the capability to move forward. Just an idea. Just an idea. Queez wrote, shout out to Queez in the building. Problem is we do not hold ourselves accountable. So when other races do it, it's from a place of hate. 100%. We're not used to, we don't even call ourselves out. So we're not used to constructive criticism. What ends up happening? Kid that grows up in a household. How many times do we see this? The parents think that their kids are perfect. They go play sports, right? They play sports. The parents don't criticize them at all. Not my baby. Oh, you go, baby. Why isn't my baby playing? Especially if we see it happening with the women. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. Then what happens when they actually get constructive criticism from a coach? Or I'll give you another example. In Montclair High School, we have athletes that get away with everything. You can get away with anything in Montclair. Traditionally, that has been the case. You ain't got to go to class. You ain't got to do this. Some of the people that I looked up to were like this. They weren't held to any standard. So what happened when they went to college? They couldn't cut it. They couldn't understand the constructive criticism. They probably accept, oh, they're hating on me. No, what happened was you've never been criticized. So now when new people criticize you, you think it comes from a place of hate. No, it's not hate. It's just calling out it from a perhaps more objective and unbiased standpoint than we even have because we're so emotionally involved in it. I had a conversation with my big bro the other day, Yoni, and we were having a conversation about Israel and different things, and he said, I'm biased. I'm biased. Admittedly so, I'm biased. And just him admitting that was like, yeah, obviously. And it's because I've said the same things. There's certain things. When you have a conversation with exactly what's going on right now. You have a conversation with white people, black people. We're all coming at it from a biased standpoint. So just like your bias, Ebony, my bias may be like when we hear somebody critique black people in America and talk about us, initially there's something in us that says like, hold up, bruh. Like, you don't even understand like why they are that type of way. You know what I mean? Initially, we all do that. But does that help us get to a solution quicker? Or does that give us an excuse, more comfort, more reasoning to not hold ourselves accountable? Just wondering. So Ebony, let me get what Ebony wrote. Ebony wrote, nah, it's like just when a person been on the job for 30 years and right before they're able to retire and collect pension, they get fired and bring in someone else for cheap. See, now you're talking about immigration. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. The European immigrants like Nick Fuentes and his family, you're kind of making it seem like they're the immigrants that are coming in now for cheap labor. I don't think that that's the same correlation, in my opinion. But yeah. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Matter of fact, hold on. This entire thing still was based on. Hold on. Maybe I'll hold off. Let me go to another clip because I want to still talk about the nationalism and how that can be dangerous. I want to talk about how the nationalism, but let me go to this other clip with Nick Fuentes. What was the timestamp? 32:38. Yeah, let's go to 32:38.
And say, we need to have more white babies. We need to have kids. I think that's highly unlikely. We need to strike at the king. We need a regime. We need to engage in politics. And I don't just mean like voting. I mean, we need to become resourceful, influential, rich, run media, be entrepreneurs, pay politicians to run for office.
Hold on. Maya, why don't you come in here and explain that? What she's saying isn't just immigration. If I'm at a company for 30 years, I'm making more than a new hire. What does any of this have to do with what he's criticizing?
I don't know, but she brought up a point, you responded to her point, and you said that she was talking about immigration. That's not
no, because let me go through this. Now we got to go through it. Hold on. Wait right there. Hold on. I was talking about new people coming onto a job. Fresh eyes. When your company's not doing well, just like whether Elon Musk comes in and takes over Twitter and he has a new set of eyes, or a consultant comes into a new company and they are there because the company is not growing at the rate that the board wants them to grow at. The people that have been there for the longest time period, they're part of the reason why the company's not growing. They have blind spots. So when somebody new comes in, you can sit here and say, oh, well, you weren't here at the start, so you don't exactly know how this is. That may be very true. That's exactly why you're coming. That's why we're bringing somebody new in. Because although your passion and everything else that you contributed led us to the point where we are now, you have not proven that you can get us to a point moving forward. That's my point. So I don't understand if you're there for 30 years and then somebody new comes in, then
yeah, I think the only thing I was replying to is you saying that we're not talking about immigrants coming in and taking a job.
Correct, because that would be the correlation. No, Nick Fuentes said it. Ebony was responding to what Nick Fuentes said about people outside the culture who haven't been here as long as black people in America critiquing black issues in America. So that's not somebody new coming into the job after you've been working there for 30 years. Nick Fuentes and a lot of white Europeans may have came here 100 years ago, maybe have come here 200 years ago. That's totally different than somebody coming in new to the company. That would be more like somebody coming in new. When you talk about hiring for cheaper labor, that's somebody trying to come in the country, I would say, in my viewpoint, over the last 10 years, and then them being used as cheap labor. The white people that he's talking about, Nick Fuentes, they're not being used as cheap labor. They have companies. They're the ones hiring the labor. So it's totally different. But yeah. All right. Hold up. I just saw what Bess wrote. Yo, I'm glad I scrolled up. Oh my God. Yo. Bez wrote, God failed the people. Let me say this. If you believe, depending on your views on God, some people believe that let me just speak from my perspective. I believe that God is just a representation of our oneness, our connection to each other, the universe, everything. That's how I believe. That's what God is to me. So I can only speak from my standpoint. I don't believe that God is in control of anything. I don't believe that God is in control. I don't. I think that God is our parents who, hey, we had the kids and now they're off to do whatever it is that however they grow, that's on them. I don't believe that God is in control of anything. That's the whole point of free will, right? I don't believe that all of this is already written. I have believed that in the past. I don't believe that everything is written out to go a certain way. I just believe that things are very easy to predict. I can make predictions right now about certain things that are going to happen. Just like when I go back and listen to a Malcolm X speech from 80 years ago, 70 years ago, 60 years ago, whatever it is. And yeah, probably more like 40, 50, 60 years ago. How old would Malcolm be? 40, 50, all right, whatever. I can go back and listen to speeches from Malcolm X and say, yo, he's talking about stuff that's exactly happening now, because it's greed. It's the same thing occurring over and over again. It's the same thing occurring over and over again. Greed. This group is going to be greedy. They're going to think they're entitled to this land or this land, and these groups are going to fight, and then things are going to go this way. This group will the same thing's going to happen over and over. So Maya, shout out to my girl Maya. God is a representation of our connectedness. That's how I look at it. So I don't think that God is in control of everything. So therefore, when it comes to Bez's comment, I don't believe that God failed us, because I don't believe that God is in control of everything. But for people that do believe God is in control of everything, like Vons wrote, God controls everything, even your next one. Vons, God controls everything, even your next move. And this is why Black people are where we are. Vons, God controls everything. So let's say, okay, so God controls everything. This is where this religious argument always goes up. If God controls everything, then Bez is right. God has failed us. God is evil. If God is controlling everything going on in Israel and Palestine, or with Israel and Palestine and Gaza, God is the devil. Based on how you're presenting God. And this is what I mean when I say people who think like this, they lack accountability. They think that God is in control of everything. No, Vons, you are in control of everything. But we always want to pass off accountability and responsibility to other people, whether it's blaming white people, whether it's God, whether it's this, whether it's that. It's always this victimhood mentality of us just not understanding, like, hey, God doesn't control whether I get up today and go work out. God doesn't control if I get up today and decide to go to work. God doesn't control if I get up today and decide to want to smoke weed and play video games all day. Does God control all that? No, that's you. Stop blaming God for everything. And if you only give God credit for the positive things, that's why they had to create a devil. You can't say that God is in control of everything, but then the bad things, oh no, that's the devil. Is God control of everything or not? It's like the most delusional. This is Santa Claus, bro. Yo, Bad's going off. Bad's going off. And you know what's crazy? So I'm going to highlight what Bez wrote. And you know why I'm going to highlight it? Is because Bez, that's exactly what humanity has shown. People will see what Bez wrote and get offended by it. Why do you get offended by that? Are you offended by what's going on in Israel and Palestine? Because that's a representation of F God, in my opinion. If God represents our connectedness to each other and us living in harmony together, then when we see evil happening throughout the world and just wars, period, this is why I always say, yo, I'm against war. There's no justification for war, period. If you justify war, you're saying F God. So don't get offended by what Bez wrote. Get offended by all the representations of people actually carrying out what Bez wrote. That's just my opinion. That's why we thank him in the good and the bad. So you thank God for the bad. Okay. All right. People, people can look at God however they look at it. People can look at God however they want to look at it. People can look at God however they want to look at it, but based on how you look at it, this would be my question. Okay, so based on how you look at it, then Bez is right. If you think God controls everything, people who believe God controls everything, in my opinion, are the laziest people in the world. The laziest people in the world. But that's just my opinion. Let's keep going.
And we need to use politics to change society. Because when you
hold up, how lazy are we? This man created the entire universe. So let's say God created everything, right? Now he's got to run everything. Damn, like you still relying on your parents for everything? They raised you the right way. They created an environment for you to flourish in, and now you still got to put. They're tired. Let God chill. He did his job. Can we help God out a little bit? Can we take some responsibility and accountability in solving our issues? Damn. And you're right. Like Queen said, that's why you can't argue religion. Make it make sense. I don't understand this. And when I say I don't understand this, I do understand it. I just don't rock with it. I'm like, damn, wake up. Like, wake up. They really convince people like this is a true like slave mentality, in my opinion. Like from the core, like what do you think when Europeans were enslaving black people and teaching them one form of the Bible, like this is what they were teaching. In my opinion, Vaughn's viewpoint on religion is exactly what the slave masters wanted his viewpoint to be. God is in control of everything. Thank God for the good and the bad. Thank God for you being enslaved. Maybe it'll teach you some skills and traits, but y'all got mad. Hold up. We got mad at Governor DeSantis when he said that, right? When Governor DeSantis said that slavery taught black people some skills, or that they left that in one of the books or something in Florida. There was a book that they decided to leave that in, or DeSantis was condoning this, or something that DeSantis got in trouble for. People got mad at him for saying that black people learned a lot of skills and learned a lot of tools and skills to be successful in life during slavery. Based on what Bonds is saying, I guess we got to thank God for slavery. We got to thank God for everything. So if we're thanking God for slavery, Bonds, let me ask you this. If you're thanking God for the good and the bad, and you're thanking God for slavery, then why are you still using slavery and white supremacy as an excuse as far as why we're not successful now? Why not just blame God? Let's continue.
Look at the strategy of like the Jews as an example. They're 2% of the population, but they have this extraordinary influence. That's because they go for the locus of power. They're in LA, they're in New York City, they're in DC. These are the most powerful cities in the world. They're in San Francisco, they're in El Segundo. They're striking at the locus of power. And from the locus of power proceeds the cultural standards, precedes these dominant narratives in the education system from academia. And so I'm really a believer, not in as much saying, oh, white people in general need to have more kids. Certainly that's a good thing. But it's more like I want the most brilliant, elite human capital, the smartest, richest, best white people to become as powerful as possible, take over the institutions, and from the institutions promulgate a message of fertility, racial solidarity, national solidarity, and national consciousness. That's kind of where I'm at. And I don't think you'd even disagree, but it's just kind of like going a little step further on that.
No, y'all see how petty I am? If you tuned into the beginning of the show, you heard me having a conversation with Zachariah when he said that this doesn't apply to Fuentes. Fuentes doesn't speak specifically on white people and promoting white success. Zachariah, if you're still here, this is what I'm referring to. And he said it in other cases as well. Oh, shoot. I saw my brother Boog in the building. I didn't see him earlier. I don't know if Boog's still in the building. Let's keep going. Oh, wait. What did Joy write? Hold on, man. I'm missing a whole bunch of these comments. My apologies. I missed what Joy wrote. My fault. Yo, keep the comments coming. I appreciate y'all. I'm trying to catch up with as many as I can. But to give Joy credit and Ebony credit, right, Joy, we are co-creators in this human experience. The co-part, let's work with God, right? God, like at least, can we at least say, all right, we got to work with God. He ain't in control of everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? All right, even if you believe that he's in control of some stuff, okay, cool. But to say that he's in control of everything, it's just lazy in my opinion. It's just lazy. All right, now y'all going back and forth. 24K in the building. Stop playing with us. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, tap in. All right, so let's let me pivot for a second. And this is why I have an issue when the conversation tends to go into nationalism. This is why I have an issue. I want to take a look at this Dr. Umar video. Where's Dr. Umar at? Dr. Umar, where you at? Hold on. I love this, man. I love y'all, man. I swear I love y'all. There's no way this can't be aligned with my purpose. I enjoy this too much. I feel the life coming through me. There's no way that this can't be part of my purpose. Forget the money, forget all. This is why I've completely shifted my mind. Like, yo, the money, forget all that. Forget all that. I'm purpose driven. Let me share this screen. Hold on. 29K in the building. Stop playing with us, man. All right, listen to this.
People don't like unapologetically African black men. Okay. They never have. Mm-hmm. So in order to disgrace you publicly, they accuse any advocate of the black community as being a racist. Mm-hmm. First of all, I can't be a racist. Mm-hmm. To be a racist is not just to be prejudiced. Racism is prejudice plus power. I have no organized power to impact the life of any white person.
I've heard this conversation so many times, and I'm not even going to focus my response mainly on this. I really want to get to the second part of the video, what he's discussing. However, this is what victimhood mentality creates. This is what one of our leaders is teaching, that black people can't be racist. So if black people develop a mindset of I can't be racist, how do you think that impacts the way that black people act and the way that we act towards each other, even non-black people? I don't have any organized power. First off, that's such a limited thinking. Like, what are you talking about? You don't have any organized power. Umar, you have, hold on. Let me see how many followers Umar has. You got 1.1 million followers. You got 1.1 million followers, and you're saying that you don't have any organized power? This is a less than mentality that grifters lean into in order to appeal to certain people. Yes, black people can be racist. Just like me hiring somebody right now. I have the power to hire somebody. Let's say I have somebody that works for me. I want to hire somebody to do my video edits. No, I'm going with this person. This white person, they're better, but I'm going with this black person because they're black. Like we got to stop this. We don't have to do anything. Let me stop there. We don't have to do anything. But in my opinion, this mentality, it got me before. I used to embrace this type of thinking. And this is another reason I'm about to go a whole nother place. This is why I stopped rocking with Drake. Y'all probably sitting here like, first off, what does Drake got to do with any of this? Second off, you was pushing Drake during the Kendrick beef and you still pushing Drake. Let's clarify. I stopped listening to Drake 2-3 years ago. And I believe I said it on the show exactly why. Because Drake, I love Drake. That's my favorite artist because I felt him. Like I felt like I could relate to him. Like when he was starting to pop, like I feel like that's when things were just clicking, you know, young. He about to go to the league, all this type of stuff. I just related to it. You feel me? We were going through the same thing. Nah, let me stop. I just related to him. And his music, it just spoke to me. His music now, as I've matured, it doesn't speak to me. I do not want to hear Drake rapping about running drills with 21 Savage. It's just not what I do on a day-to-day basis. I can't really relate to it. Now, in the gym, will I listen to it, or is it still great music to the point where I hear it and I just can't help but not because it's great music? Absolutely. Every time I hear a song off of that album he did with 21 Savage, I'm like, yo, this joint's up. Like, ugh. But I've matured. My goals have changed, so therefore I've shifted based on the information that I want to receive. Dr. Umar is saying the very same things that he said 10, 15 years ago. How do I know? Because that's when I was introduced to him. That's when I started listening to him. All of it made sense at a certain point in time. But then as I was like, yo, this doesn't work. It's not practical. Like, it doesn't lead us anywhere. Us just laying in this victimhood mentality. So let me keep going with the video. You can think whatever you want about whether black people can be racist or not. Cool. If you don't think you have any power, any organized power with 1.1 million followers, then I don't know. I feel like we got power with just what we do in this group. So I don't know. I can't relate. I can no longer relate to him.
I don't control a mortgage. I'm not their boss. I'm not the judge they got to see in court. I'm not their child superintendent at school. I control nothing that can hurt white people. I can be prejudiced. I can't be racist.
Okay.
So that's number one. The reason I oppose interracial marriage, number one, is self-esteem of black girls. As someone who works in schools, black girls regularly ask me, Dr. Umar, why do black men date white women when my mother has never been married? See that? They see it. It crushes them. It's bad enough they got to walk around with a mop on their head because black men don't want to see black women with natural hair.
What are you talking about, bro? First off, we've said all the time on this show, yo, I don't need you. Take that weave out your hair, take them goofy ass lashes off your face, all that other stuff with the fake hair. I don't like any of that stuff. The makeup, I don't like. I mean, makeup, cool, to each their own. I'm telling you what I like. I don't like any of that. So I don't know what he's talking about. And then even before that, when he's talking about black girls growing up without they got to see black men dating white women. Bro, why don't you say, this is what I was talking about earlier with Officer Tatum. Why don't you say exactly why? For one, why there's so much tension between black women and black men. And to be totally honest, I'm seeing more black women with white guys looking happy. The same way I see a lot of black guys with white women looking happy. Maybe they don't have all of that history that we were talking about earlier. The history, you don't have the history with the company. Maybe we don't have all that tension and history, and maybe it seems to be serving a lot of people well. Now, I'm not saying that you talk about black women and just say black women are terrible, they're overweight, they're mean, they're rude, they're they got an attitude, they're bossy. I'm not saying that you just target the black women. Talk about why the black women are that way. Because they've had to fulfill a role maybe that they should have never been fulfilling in the first place. Because there's no black man there. Talk about exactly what created, exactly why black men and black women, we just don't seem to be on the same page. Talk about that. But at least be honest, bro. Don't stop trying to bash intermarriage relationships just because a black man doesn't want to go through the whatever struggle it may be of being with a black woman. Because Umar, you're not married. You got 2 baby mothers? At least you got one. You're a deadbeat dad to your daughter, according to your daughter. Your daughter just exposed you saying that she's turning 20 years old and you've never been to a birthday party, but you come on TV, you come on camera and tell all of the other men in the community about how we're supposed to step up, be fathers, be leaders in our household, and you're not doing it yourself. This is what these type of people do. They just want to appeal to black women. Oh, black women are my biggest donators. Okay, let me make sure that I can massage the message that appeals to them. Be real with it. That's why I don't care whether it's Nick Fuentes or anybody else calling out the black issues or calling out any other issues for that matter, because it needs to be called out. And clearly the community hasn't been calling it out. Clearly, if the average black woman is walking around at 185 pounds, we have a problem that we have not been able to fix. So who's calling it out? Does Dr. Umar look like he's calling out black women being out of shape? No, because he's not in shape.
That's a problem in and of itself. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you're going to parade a white woman around in front of me and my mother when only 1 out of every 4 black women will ever get married in this country.
Why? Stop blaming white women. Stop blaming black men that choose to marry white women. There's a whole bunch of unmarried black men outside of the ones that marry, the few percentage-wise that marry white women, that black women can choose from. And there's a whole bunch of vice versa. So why are we not getting married? Talk about the actual problems. Stop just all this blaming stuff. I wanted to focus the conversation around nationalism. When we live in a country that is diverse, but our answer to problems is to just marry only people that look like you, it can go a bunch of different ways that, in my opinion, are not positive. And I'm going to show you another video that for all the black people that may be getting a little sensitive in what I'm saying right now, or this may bother you, I'll show another video that I bet you don't get as sensitive. But I'm sure the other group that maybe may get sensitive with it. But this is what happens because you can't talk about anybody. Hold on.
It's absolutely unacceptable. You can't claim to be an advocate for black people sleeping with white people.
You can't claim to be an advocate for black people if you're sleeping with white people. But then this man's self-proclaimed, he's the 6.5 cousin of Frederick Douglass. But Frederick Douglass, somebody who's regarded as one of the most influential black leaders in American history, who did he marry before he passed away? Who did he marry late in life? He married a white woman. Dr. Umar, aren't you the step cousin, the 6th removed or whatever of Frederick Douglass that you claim? Didn't you name your school the FDMG, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy? But you can't be an advocate for black people if you're sleeping with white people. But okay, I got you.
In addition to that, you have to look at the economic holocaust of the Snow Bunny crisis. Look at all the money and resources that are leaving our...
So look at what just happened in the comment. Hold on, look at this comment. Look at what Action Shorts just wrote. Action Shorts just wrote, Nick has the same messaging. He doesn't believe in race mixing. So why are you glazing one and not the other? He's saying that I'm glazing Nick and not the other. Action Shorts. I'm not going to get into a a battle with you, even though I think that the glazing was disrespectful. You clearly have not been on the show the entire time. This the entire reason why I'm showing Dr. Umar is based on the disagreement that I started off by showing with Nick Fuentes, why saying Nick Fuentes is a problem because he's pushing white nationalism. The things that I'm saying about as far as Nick Fuentes that I agree with is him calling out the black issues. These are two separate things. And this was my entire point when I started off the show by saying, because we have terrible leaders, what does it end up doing? It ends up pushing us to being open to, well, let me hear what Nick Fuentes has to say. Because we have no solid black leaders, because we have what Nick Fuentes pointed out in the beginning of the show, we have no real niggas that are leading us. And that have been able to win and shift the culture away from this negative black culture into something that could be positive. That's the whole point of all this. And this is exactly what I was talking to. The next video that I'm going to point out, now Action Shorts, I don't know what they'll take away from it, but I'm going to highlight another group and highlight why it's a problem with that group. Nationalism isn't the answer. I literally just said this 10 minutes ago when I highlighted what Nick Fuentes said regarding white Americans and him wanting white Americans to be in power. Pay attention. Let me get to this.
Or community as a result of the bunny hop. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. Look, he left Vanessa almost $1 billion estate. Ain't none of that money coming into the black community. She won't even take care of his mother or father. You see, so what is going on here? Marvelous Marvin Hagler left a white widow. You see this? Tiger Woods got a divorce settlement with his ex-wife. She got $100 million.
Nigga, who are you leaving? And what are you leaving to them? What are you leaving behind for your daughter, Umar Johnson, the same daughter that decided to expose you online? You've raised millions of dollars from black people who make the least amount of money in this country, household income wise. You've taken money from black people because you only want to take money from black people, you said. What are you leaving? Where's all this money going towards from this school that you're building?
And she was a caretaker before he married her. She left a multimillionaire. Look at the economic hemorrhage. Shannon Sharp could pay this woman $50 million. You see that? For a couple nights of sex. You know how many black institutions you can build in Cleveland with $50 million? So you cannot be neutral in this if you care about black people.
Let me show y'all the next video that I wanted to highlight for y'all. Hold on. Make sure Action Shorts, make sure you stay in the building. Here we go, right here. This is my critique on nationalism.
So the head of the ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt, gave a couple of interviews, a long one with the New York Times, which caught a lot of attention. But the first clip we want to start with was actually from a different interview where he expresses concern over intermarriage. Let's take a listen to that.
But this is why we need a revolution in our community on so many levels. So look, the reality is that intermarriage rates continue to go up. Assimilation continues apace. And look, I fight anti-Semitism. That is my job. But I worry a great deal about broader questions of Jewish identity, as I think we talked about over lunch.
So concerned about intermarriage.
This is why I don't think nationalism will ever work to solve a lot of our problems. And then Action Shorts wrote, just say you want a white girl. These are the type of leaders that we have. Action Shorts. Matter of fact, how about this? Action Shorts. You do podcasts, right? Do me a favor. Email me. I'm gonna leave you my email address right here. Email me and let's set up a pod and let's talk about this. Not gonna do it today because, obviously you may not be prepared. Nah, let me stop. But we'll talk about it. I'm calling out action shorts. This is the type of pandering that happens, which is why we never fix our issues. Just say you want to, you start calling out certain things, and now it's just say you want a white girl. You can't critique. People get mad when you start critiquing them. Jonathan Greenblatt. Let me focus on, let me get back focused. Jonathan Greenblatt. He's the ADL, right? He has an issue with intermarriages. So this is when I actually was prompted to look up what the ADL's purpose was. So let me share this screen real quick. Hold on. And this is when I looked up the ADL, and it says to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all. I don't know, but something seems to not align with what he just said as far as you're worried about intermarrying. And this, even if it's right, there's some people that believe there's a lot of Indian cultures, there's a lot of various cultures, Nigerian cultures, cultures that want you to marry people that are within your culture. Cool. I just don't think it works when it comes to having a goal that is centered on achieving oneness in humanity. I think it's another area in which we will use to separate ourselves rather than to bring us together. Now, different people have different goals. Different people have different goals. And Queez wrote, when people talk religion, they tend to put their religion or beliefs higher than others. That's a fact. That's a fact. People have different goals. So my goal obviously is different than Jonathan Greenblatt's goal. My goal when I sit here is to tell y'all, I told y'all, and my goals shift from time to time. My goal is to figure out how humanity can live in harmony, how we can get closer to this godliness that I believe is our connection to each other. That's what I believe. So Dr. Umar has a different goal than me. Jonathan Greenblatt has a different goal than me. Nick Fuentes has a different goal than me. And what I'm trying to point out is that when we don't have leaders that will stand firmly and compete with all the other BS that we see in this world, that is misleading us, that is making us, what's drawing people to, a lot of people don't like Andrew Tate. What's drawing people to Andrew Tate? What's drawing so many young men to Nick Fuentes? Instead of talking about them, let's figure out, yo, why don't we have leaders that we can follow just as passionately as people want to follow them? And it's because people, in my opinion, people we don't have enough real folk out here that we're willing to follow. Now, when it comes to my goal as far as bringing people together in oneness, I don't see a lot of leaders out here pushing that. I don't. So what do? I take Queez's advice and I just be the change that I want to see. So what I've decided to do is not only marry one person, but I'm going to marry multiple white women and all the other cultures as well. No, I'm just, hey, Bob. Oh my God. All right. Y'all get what I'm saying though. Y'all get what I'm saying. All right. We're gonna watch a little bit more of oh man, I'm trying to have kids, man. I gotta, all right. Oh man. All right. Judgmental Lizard wrote. This is something. Yo, I'm glad that you wrote this because you just reminded me to look at my notes. People want to be pandered to by people who speak their lowest nature. This is what I see as the Nick Fuentes. A lot of the people that we follow the most, a lot of the people that get big, it's almost like Black Lives Matter. Like a lot of these situations, these things that come about that are just in the moment and that solve a quick fix. People with the Shiloh Hendricks situation, supporting Shiloh Hendricks after she called the child the N-word, all of these different situations that we see in this world, we're speaking to our lowest nature. We'll look at the Daniel Penny situation. I forget the names. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the names. All these different situations that we see in this world, we're looking at it through a lens of our lowest nature. We're not looking at it through our highest nature, which would be from a humanity standpoint, in my opinion. In my opinion. So, and Bez wrote, time is ticking, David, on them kids. We working on it, baby. We working on it. I don't know if that comment's gonna help, but we working on it. I don't know if me joking around, but don't need God for peace. See, Bez, you look at God differently than me. I think that's clear. I don't. You know what I read in this book, The Power of Now? God is nothing. God is nothing. And it said when it wrote nothing, it had no and then a hyphen thing. And I was trying to understand what they meant when they said God is no thing. I agree with you, Beth. You don't need God for peace. To me, God is just a representation. God is, like I said before, God is just a representation of our spiritual connection to each other. We don't need God for peace. I'm with you on that. I don't, to me, God has been used, you know, when you insert God in certain things, it may serve as just a distraction, to be totally honest, because when you look around at the world, God has caused far more destruction and evil tendencies than peace. And when I say God, I mean how man has used God. And the reason why I say God has caused it, because our perception of God is what becomes God, I guess, in a lot of ways. Because you saw how Vons looks at God. You see how people around the world look at God. Clearly, most people, I guess, don't look at God the way that I see God is. God is not peace, bro. And Vons, this is what I mean when I say when I say we have a limited scope of religion. And this is why I disagree with Christianity. I guarantee you, let me say this. I guarantee you that Bez has probably read, I guarantee that Bez has read the Bible and other religious scriptures more than 99.99% of people who subscribe to religions, at least American religious folk. And when you actually read the Bible, Vons, you learn that God is not peace. How else would these religions be able to misuse the words of God, right? To misuse the influence of God? Because my interpretation of God is just my interpretation. I can't say that my interpretation is right. If we go with the masses, the masses of people believe God is based on the influences and the inspiration that comes through in the scriptures. Look at the Bible. You telling me God is peace when God tells you that you can go beat your slave, and as long as they don't die on the next day, that it's okay? You're telling me that that's peace? You're telling me when God condones that you can go conquer another people that don't already believe in that particular God, that it's okay for them to take the women as wives, and the ones that you don't want, you could just let them go? You're telling me that that's peace? How is that peace? How is that peace? And so Tina Mosho, shout out to Tina in the building. Tina wrote, I don't disagree with Christianity, but the interpretation of Christianity I find flaws in. Tina, I disagree with both. So you don't disagree with slavery then? By saying you don't disagree with Christianity, you're saying that you don't disagree with slavery because it's in the actual Bible. This is what I be asking myself, do Christians even read their Bible? Are Christians aware of what's in their Bible, or do you just go to church and let the pastor pick and choose what verses you're going to pay attention to? When you do Bible study, are you just studying a passage that somebody picked out of the blue, or are you just starting from the beginning of the book and reading until the end? What do you mean? This is what's so funny to me, and this is what's so funny to me. I've learned that people, right? And I think we see a little bit of on this show. You ever had somebody in life, or we see certain people that can get canceled for saying certain things, right? Kanye got canceled. Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes. There's a lot of people that hated Andrew Tate. There's a lot of people that hate people for a lot of different reasons. You can disagree, or you can agree with somebody on 99% of things, but that 1% can cause you to not like that person. I can't stand them. I hate them. But then when it comes to the Bible, we hold the Bible to a lower standard. How can something be so godly and inspired from God, but you're holding it to a lower standard than you would man? A dog can go from never biting a person, right? And they bought this, they bit a kid, or they bit a person. You got to put that dog down. Yo, the dog for his whole life was never bit anybody, but he bit one person. Now you got to kill the dog. So the dog is held to a higher standard than the Bible. Now, what do I mean by that? The Bible has plenty of things in it that would completely violate our morals, our laws, our principles, our values, but we still accept it because it's in the Bible. So why, when there's something in the Bible, we don't throw, when there's something that's terrible in the Bible, we don't throw away the whole Bible? But that's what we do with other things that are not supposed to be as inspired and tied to God. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Let's get back to, we'll watch a little bit more. Hold on. Make sure y'all like, and subscribe. Appreciate that. Let's continue.
I agree with you, actually, completely. And culture is the driving force behind all things. You know, I often comment on white people, black people. I'm in a unique position because I am a race mixed individual, which pisses off a large percentage of the internet. But this is how I was born, and that's how it goes. And there's not much I can do about it. But I would argue, besides yourself, there's probably no one else with a platform as large as mine who speaks up for white people ever. And one of the problems with extreme right-wing white people is we have this infinitely divisible, constantly searching for more and more based to the point where no matter how much you do for them or try to help them, you're going to eventually not be based enough for them. And this is seen amongst white people in general. If we removed all the black people from Western civilization today, within 30 years, the Germans would be fighting the Italians again. I mean, that's what happened. Only 30 or 40 years ago, the Irish and English were blowing each other up. And now Ireland and England's both full of asylum seekers from the boat.
Hold on. Let me catch up with these comments. Hold on. I didn't realize. Hold on. Hold on. This is where the ignorance comes in, bro. Come on, bro. Ancient Angel. This is one of the points that I was making earlier in the show. I don't know when you came on, Ancient Angel, but to me, this is why Nick Fuentes, we need to pay attention to him even more, because he's changing his tune. And I think he's admitted that. Nick Fuentes, he's changing his tune to how he discusses black people. Now, I showed y'all some of the earlier clips. He's talked about how Patrick Bet David called him out and wouldn't have him on the show because he said the N-word. So I think he's agreed to stop saying the N-word like that. Like we showed in the earlier video. But he is backtracking in some ways. He is changing his tune. And I think that he's still a problem because, to me, he's pushing white nationalist energy. So that's why I think it's bad when it's white nationalist energy. I think it's bad when it's Jonathan Greenblatt pushing the the Jewish nationalist. I think that or Israeli nationalist, however you want to put it. And I think that not only is Dr. Umar bad or wrong when he's pushing black nationalists, it doesn't work. Now, we have different goals. So, and when I say it doesn't work, let me be very clear. It has worked in some ways. I can't say that it completely doesn't work. It works depending on your goals. If you have Black Wall Street, we know that was nationalism. That was forced nationalism. Segregation forced us to have nationalism. So I have to acknowledge that we had our own businesses, had our own banks, had our own doctors, had our own grocery stores, had our own economy in a lot of ways. We talked about this with the Negro Leagues compared to the major leagues. So I do have to understand that there is something in having unity in a particular group of people, whatever you identify as your group. However, I don't think that we're at our best when it comes to humanity. Let me just admit that. So from that standpoint, nationalism does work. We see nationalism work with Jewish people, how they unite together. We've seen nationalists work for different groups of white people, Russian groups, all different types. And we've seen nationalism work for black people. So it does work just from that goal standpoint. My goal has just shifted. My goal has just shifted. I've realized that the more we get into this nationalist position where people are pushing and prioritizing their people based on race, rather than pushing it and promoting their people based on just humanity and us just living in harmony, to me, it's ultimately just going to lead to war. That's where I see it. So maybe that's the wrong goal. Maybe that's the wrong mindset, but that's just how I see it. That's just how I see it. Hold on. Vons wrote, no, we all read it, Dak, most of us. This is when I respectfully say, Vons, I think that is an ignorant, extremely ignorant and naive view of Christianity, black or any other people. To assume that the majority of people read the Bible or have read the Bible, I don't know what you said. What do you mean? Like now, Vons, let's be clear. Are you saying that the majority of people have read it? Or are you saying that when you say, no, we all read it? Are you saying, I'm assuming you're saying on a consistent basis, because I was referencing the fact that Bez has read a lot more of this scripture than the majority of 99% of people. And you responded and said, no, we all read it, Dak. And just look at the comment. We all read it, Dak. And then it's most of us. That's like what I said earlier. I guarantee, and then I said probably. It's like, what? Which one is it? Bez wrote, Ebony, Jesus also said, why do you call me good? There's no good but God alone. Folks still praising Jesus. And this would be the reason why I don't believe in heaven or hell. I don't believe that one day if I got to heaven, I would see Jeffrey Dahmer or Hitler. And I definitely know if I got to hell. And I definitely know if I got to hell. Did Donald J. Trump would not be able to buy his way out of it? Tina wrote, responding to what I said, I guess with the slavery. Slavery in the East is not the same as shadow slavery in the West. I understand your perspective and respect it, but I cannot take the intentions of people out of the equation. Tina, do y'all see how people will justify evil just to justify their religion? Slavery in the East is not as shadow slavery in the West. I understand your perspective and respect it, but I cannot take the intentions of people out of the equation. Tina, it says specifically that you can beat your slave as long as they don't die within 24 hours, then it's okay. In what religion, in any interpretation of that, could that be okay? God says thou shalt not kill, right? But then we talk about eye for an eye. It's a book of contradictions if we're just being honest with ourselves. And nobody forced Christianity to accept the Old Testament along with your New Testament. So I don't want to hear, well, that's the Old Testament. Well, it's in your book. You could have put something in the back saying, hey, we disagree with the Old Testament. We just put it here for historical context. You didn't say that. You can't pick and choose just to rationalize your religion. This is like this is what I mean when I say these are the most ungodly things. How, like, think about it. In order to justify our religion, we're highlighting the difference between chattel slavery in the West compared to slavery in the East. But then when we look at the Bible and it discusses how you can treat a slave, at what point would a slave be okay? Even if slavery was okay in society, how would God okay it? So you're basically saying that God lowers his standards to the times and days of men? If God is supposed to be the all-powerful being, like Vaughn has said that he is, why would God condone any form of slavery? It's like, damn, like, I think you have to go through things to grow your faith. Right, Ebony, the physical manuscript has been manipulated. That is why faith and discernment is needed, as well as a healthy temple body is to keep your frequency clear between God and you. I would say, since you're talking about frequency between God and you, Ant, perhaps remove the middleman. If you're talking frequency, right, it's hard to have a direct line of communication, a direct frequency with God when you have a middleman, aka religion, in the way of how you communicate with God. It's funny how all these people believe that God is the all-powerful being and all that, and none of y'all can even talk to him directly. You got to call somebody else to talk to God. Why do you need religion? Why do you need to pledge your allegiance to a religion and accept another person as your savior? Why don't you become your savior? That's what Christianity is. So don't say, well, I am my own savior. Isn't Christianity when you get baptized, you're accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? That just doesn't seem godly to me. It never has and perhaps never will, but maybe, I don't know. Genesis already made it known man in general wasn't good. Vaughn, you have to go through things to grow, period. Most people don't understand you don't throw a blender away because it works, but you throw it away because you can't find the top and it'll make a mess. Just Joy wrote, I agree, Anthony. Folks get quotes every day. You'll even quote your parents. Nobody gonna answer me then, laugh my ass off. Just say, used to say crazy shit and now you acting like you're on the Democratic side or whatever. He is lashing at everyone out on the right. I think you're talking about Nick Fuentes. So I think we already talked about that. Killing a dog is grotesque. How about killing humans is grotesque? But, people really be caring more about dogs than they do about people. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just being totally honest. Maybe we've developed a reputation to where we deserve to be treated like that or to be seen like that. I don't know, but it's pretty wild. Tina wrote, in the West, we don't abolish slavery. It is rebranded as prisoners. Our laws say it is still legal in America. So, Tina, if what you're saying is true, then don't you think God should inspire us to not accept that? You're rationalizing God's words with humans. Why are you using man to rationalize God? God is supposed to be the leader. The leader doesn't use his followers to rationalize. You get what I'm saying? Well, they did this, so I did that. No, I'm the leader. I lead them. Ancient Angel wrote, all three of these men are all right. Let me oh my God, there's mad comments. My bad, my God. All right. So Tina wrote, I cannot defend this discourse through the comments, but I have several things that I would like to express, but I digress. I'll be honest, I can't even keep up with all the comments. So hold on, what? Did I miss something? Hold on. Ebony wrote, Wow, what the F did you say? We deserved it? I'm not sure who you're referring to. I'm not sure. Ed, let me know who you're referring to and what you're referring to. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Yeah, all right, y'all go. Yeah, y'all going. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. I gotta wrap it up. Dope show with y'all. Dope show, but I gotta wrap it up. We're gonna have to continue this conversation. I don't know if I'll be able to tap in on the weekend with y'all. I'm already like delayed on a whole bunch of stuff, but oh yeah, do me a favor, like and subscribe, because we still got the most important part of the show left. And I wanted to share something that was sent to me. So hold on. Oh shoot, I'm sorry, I didn't see my dad's comments earlier. Hey Dad, I'll discuss this later on. I'll discuss this maybe Monday. I'll discuss this later on. All right, yeah. I'll discuss this later on. My dad was giving some comments. Unless you want me to discuss them now real quick, Dad, but I'll discuss them later on. Yeah. All right. Let me I gotta start leaving my phone on. I gotta start leaving my phone on. Hold on. I gotta start leaving my phone on for the show. Hold on. All right, let me I'm getting messed. Let me share what I wanted to share with y'all real quickly. All right. Oh man, hold on. Religion is slavery. Yo, should we keep going? I don't know. Should we keep going? I don't know. And Bez brought up a great point. The only voice that responds is your own. So I assume Bez is talking about when we have a combo with ourselves, or when we have a combo with God, the only voice that it responds is ourselves. I agree with you 100%, because God is in us. God is in us. Right? God is in us, but it depends on how you look at God. Some people look at God as like this all-powerful being who's controlling the weather and control. So it's different. So I agree. It just really depends on how you look at it. And Tina wrote, shout out to Tina. Though we disagree on Christianity, I wanted to express how I enjoy what you've said otherwise and agree. Thank you. And just to be clear, Tina, this is not just on Christianity. This is Judaism, because obviously the Old Testament speaks on a lot of these things. This is the Torah. A lot of these scriptures, because they are, a lot of these scriptures, in my opinion, they're condoning evil actions. So I'm not just talking about Christianity. If it came across that way, not talking about that, or not saying it like that. This is my opinion on the majority of religions, with perhaps the exception of like the ones that like Buddhism. I don't think Buddhism, even though Buddhism is more, they say it's more of a spirituality. I think the majority of these religions, they condone evil behaviors, or what I perceive as evil behaviors in 2025. They may not have been perceived then as evil behaviors, but that's just another reason why I think that it's not God inspiring it. It's man, because God, who knows all of this, right? I'm pretty sure God would know this. God, it'll be very hard for me to believe that God condoned any type of slavery or any type of evil. Big bro Steve. Yeah, so many levels to this. Just Joy wrote, so many levels to this. I have so much to say, but folks ain't ready, and I need to. Yo, can y'all start tapping in with me? Like, yo, I want y'all to cam up, because it's hard to just keep up with the comments. So maybe we'll do one day where we just. I know I always say it, but y'all don't be ready. I'll be totally honest. Maybe we'll do like a weekend or an evening thing. I know everybody's busy and stuff, but it's all good. The fact that this makes us want to have more conversations, and the fact that this makes us, want to have, express more, I think that that's good enough in itself. So, or at least it's solid in itself. And Steve, big bro, let's get down to the real question everyone wants to answer. Where can I get one of those OG Bill caps? It's funny. I found this. This is Maya's hat. I need a little, I got a big head. So if it's not, but it's a dad hat. So it's not like a fitted hat. But yeah, this is mine. I give away all my stuff, so I don't end up having anything. So maybe we got to order some more of these. We could order some more of these for sure. All right, let's get down to the best part of the show. Oh man, I keep seeing y'all comments and I want to keep going. Yo, please make sure that y'all like, subscribe. Do me a favor. Hold up. I need y'all to do me a favor. Y'all know what I'm about to do. Some of y'all know what I'm about to do. I need y'all to subscribe to this Patreon. Because I'm telling y'all, I'm shifting over a bit. All right, I'm shifting things over a bit because it just makes a little bit more sense for me to be on Patreon. I'll be totally honest. It's just easier for me to monetize in a lot of ways. So for me to justify, making sure that I'm able to give y'all the things that I want to give y'all on these shows, let me just pull up the Patreon real quick. I just got to make sure that I'm figuring out other ways to monetize this rather than asking y'all to just do what are the things that you couldn't send money or list in the Cash App. I'm not opposed to that, but I prefer to just do it a different way. So if I can figure out how to monetize more on Patreon, then I'd rather just do that with y'all rather than telling y'all to hit the Cash App. Like maybe I need to be more like Dr. Umar, hit the Cash App. So yo, do me a favor, click this link. There's a free option available as well. The only paid membership is $10, all right? But it's a free one as well. Just do the free one if you don't want to pay, but just tap in, like literally just click the link. I hope you don't have to download the app. If you do have to download the app, do me a favor, download it and just sign up as a member. So like literally, that's all I need from y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. All right, so let me get into this reading. My big bro sent this over. Pete, he always hits me with the morning prayer and the daily reflections. So I wanted to just share this. As for the spiritual perfections, they are man's birthright and belong to him alone of all creation. Man is in reality a spiritual being, and only when he lives in the spirit is he truly happy. This spiritual longing and perception belongs to all men alike. So what stood out to me is man is in reality a spiritual being, and only when he lives in the spirit is he truly happy. This goes to our conversation about mental health that we've been having for the last couple shows, as well as just us understanding that we got to feed our souls, man. And if we can look at things from a spiritual standpoint, to me, it automatically puts us in the right mindset to understand our connection with each other. When we're seeing ourselves as spiritual beings, then it allows us to remove all of the other identities that we prioritize over us just being human beings that are special spiritual beings. I don't even know if you want to say special, but spiritual beings. I think that is dope. I think we are special. I think that it's dope that we could have been born or not born based on a good swimmer or bad swimmer here and there, fertilizing an egg. And then this, I think that it's dope. I think that birth is dope. I think that we all should be appreciative to be here. And perhaps how we show our appreciation is understanding our spiritual connection to each other and shifting humanity forward. All right. So if you got any takeaway from this show, it's that I'm not rocking with the nationalism. I'm not rocking with it. Yes, there's pros to it, perhaps, but there's also cons, and the cons don't align with my goals. So to each their own, but I'm just talking about it because this is the platform that I have to talk about it. So everybody is free to share. Everybody is free to have their own opinion, but I just really want to emphasize that when we see ourselves as spiritual beings, it's easier for us to see how we are more connected and more alike rather than focusing on our differences. So with that, on every show, y'all know what we do. For the newcomers, we take 45 seconds at least at the end of every show to just be still, meditate, manifest, do whatever it is that you need, get your breath work in. We like to emphasize that every breath being exhaled is releasing negative energy. Feel it. As the breath goes out, feel the negative energy being released. And then every inhale, feel the breath coming in. And we're inhaling all positive energy. So eventually, we're just recirculating positive energy and putting out that frequency for the world. So let's take our 45 seconds. If you're in a safe place, feel free to close your eyes. Think about something, concentrate, or don't think about something, all right? Maybe you want to think about how you can do what we set out every week to do, make this our greatest week ever. Whatever it is, just take the time, all right? So we'll start that now. All right. One last inhale. Inhale that positive. And then feel ourselves pushing out all the negative on the exhale. Balance. Balance. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know we come here to do. Elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards to become the leaders that we need now more than ever. This entire show, the takeaway should be on how we can be the change that Queez always talk about, how we can embrace the leadership qualities that we want our leaders to embrace. And then what does that do? That makes us more attracted and aligned with following the right people, or at least when I say the right people, I mean the people that are aligned with us achieving our goals. All right. So what we also raise in our standards is to make sure that we can accomplish these audacious goals that we set out to achieve. You know, I told y'all my goal is bringing harmony and unity to mankind and creating a life where we can achieve this greater peace and all of us can live in harmony. I'm pretty sure that everybody can say that that's a pretty audacious goal. Maybe some people would say it's arrogant. Maybe some people would say it's ignorant. But all we got to do is decide that we're willing to sacrifice whatever it is and move in that direction. And perhaps maybe the best thing to do is just keep taking small steps towards that direction. And speaking of small steps, we're going to talk about getting to our bag, right? But before we get to the bag, what do we always say? What do we always say? Strength and honor, onward and upward. But like I said, speaking of those smaller steps or those perceived smaller steps that align with us getting to our goals and us not feeling like we have to take that one giant leap, but it's the small stuff, the consistent energy, the disciplined energy that's going to get us to that end goal. So that's what I mean when I say get to that bag. Those are all the things that are going to make sure that we're aligning with our purpose, living in our purpose as we strive for purposeful abundance and strive to make that impact that we like to call our personal legend. All right. Shout out to the Alchemist. I just gave my young boy, and shout out to all the graduates out here. Actually, all the people that are graduating, or I shouldn't say the graduates, all the people that are entering a new year of school, especially the kids that are going to college. I just actually did a video for a lot of student athletes, a video that's like share some of my experiences when it was trying to make an impression on a football team. So for a lot of the young athletes, you go from high school being the guy or being the girl. Now you're in a new environment. It does take a bit of adaptation, you can say. You got to adapt to a new scenario and still be successful. So we got that on the way. And I don't even know why I said that. But yeah, it is what it is. Get to that bag. I think I said everything. So what are the things in my bag? Peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity. And of course, I added something new to that, and it's balance. All right, balance. That's what we're shooting for. Balance. That's it. All right, everybody, I love y'all, man. I love y'all. And I gotta thank y'all. And I gotta thank y'all because y'all really contribute to making these shows what they are. I got a message from my dad maybe on Monday. Wednesday's show, I'll be honest, I always grade my show. So Maya, she couldn't watch Wednesday's show. And she was like, how was the show? And I was like, it's C, average. I didn't really feel that good about it. You know, it's cool, whatever. But before that, my dad had sent me, he said the Monday show and the last week's shows were great. So that put the battery in my back. It's always appreciated, but I always have to share that with y'all because honestly, y'all are just as much a part of the show as I believe that I am. So appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Everybody is showing love. Unc said one love always. It starts with me and showing the heritage. Happy to chill out and support a smaller stream for a bit. Appreciate you, Richard. Make sure that you subscribe to us. We're on Mondays and Fridays at 8 a.m. And then we do a Wednesday evening show at 9 o'clock. And sometimes starts at like 9, 10, 9:15, but it's supposed to be at 9 o'clock. Quee said, make some t-shirts. I'm driving. Maybe if I close my eyes, the nigga God will take the wheel. Bez, stop. Nah, when I say stop, Bez, I mean keep going. Keep leaning into whatever it is that you're leaning into, bro. Let's all right. So Dak, let's make the shirt, man. All right. I gotta hit you up. After this. Be the change. It starts with me and follow the money. Yo, that says so many things. Be the change. Take accountability. It starts with me. That's the responsibility and the accountability. Follow the money. Be smart. Pay attention. You feel me? That's what I get from that. And always killing my shine. Have my ass over. Follow God. Money will come too. When Quee says, all right, let me be very clear. What Quee says when he says follow the money, he means follow the money as far as understanding what happens in this world. When we're trying to make sense of certain things, typically when we make sense of certain things, it's follow the money. So whether we talk about the hip hop industry, whether we talk about this, whether we talk about that, whether we talk about politics and why Donald Trump is completely bugging right now, maybe if we follow the money that he's received, the 100 mil from certain people, then things start to make sense. So that's what Queez meant, I believe, as far as follow the money. But yeah, and follow God, money will come too. I'm in my purpose, bro. Forget all the money. Yo, I'm trying to get Queez. They taking your shine because I'm saying all this. I'm trying to catch up with everybody's comments. And I got to scroll back to where Queez, I got to hold up. Queez, y'all know we end the show with Queez sending the fire emojis. That's how we started this show 3 years ago. Where Queez would put the battery in my back, where I'm wondering, like, yo, how was the show? I don't know. And Queez would always finish it off with the fire emojis. Ant would always show love. And obviously Bez was there. It's really been the same. Yo, I appreciate y'all. And we appreciate all the newcomers as well. So, yo, I can stay on all day with y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all soon, man. Thank you.